Hi, everyone. Welcome to 2023. We're here, and I hope everyone is having a good start to the year. There's still a lot of internal work that we're doing, and I'm sure that the energies coming in are really going to accelerate whatever's going on. So, my empathy with those who are still moving through difficult times with waking up to a lot of the things happening around the globe. The levels of ignorance that we have to deal with, that we discover within ourselves and within just, behavior happening around us, from the micro to the macro, all the way up to governance and, everything going on with a global awareness and global actions being taken by various organizations and groups. And it's just a lot to deal with. So if you're moving through a lot of cognitive dissonance with what's happening, I send you a lot of compassion and strength to continue on. I'm going to have to turn that off. Sorry about that. Send you a lot of strength and compassion as you move through these challenging times. And I think the best way to look at this is, every cycle has a beginning and an end. And moving through these cycles, there's always a peak period where things are more challenging. And then as information integrates, it's easier. It does become a lot easier. So just a little bit of encouragement for those that are, still becoming increasingly aware of a lot of the things happening in the world. So with that, I'd like to start. I'm just putting together this video. I'm going to try not to make it too long. I'm going to try to condense the information. I'm going to try to talk a little bit quicker and share a little bit on some of the things I want to bring forth so that those tuning in can be inspired and continue to really delve into their own studies and work. And this is sort of just preliminary studies that I'm doing, but I think it's important to bring forth what we're working on, not only to release kind of this like energy that builds up within ourselves, but also to allow us to take that next level. Because once things are released, there's a process of integration that happens that can't necessarily happen when we don't talk about them. Obviously, talking with friends and family and people within your community of interest is a part of it, and then bringing that information forward on a larger scale is also another part of it if you're someone who is here doing this type of work. So as we move into 2023, Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius. If you're not interested in in astrology, that's fine, but there's always cycles that happen, and we can kind of forecast what's going to happen based on the cosmic cycles taking place. And Aquarius is a very futuristic energy, and it's an energy that some of us have been working in for a long time. Like, you always have these forecasters which are way ahead of the crowd, and as we dabble back, we can see that people doing the forerunning work 50 years ago for us were in that mode, and they were speaking on things that were very futuristic for the time. And because of that, there's a lot of pushback on people who are bringing information forward before the general public has a sort of consensus awareness on said information. So it's always a bit challenging, but having Pluto go into Aquarius, I think that sort of energy is going to be moving into the collective overall, meaning that more and more people are going to be able to forecast into the future and sort of see things coming down the pipeline and be a little bit more ahead of the curve, instead of seeing things more clearly in retrospect. So that's going to be taking place, and Aquarius also has a lot to do with technology, sort of in the same vein as Uranus, and you know, with everything going on with technology right now, this huge push, for regarding what they call the fourth industrial revolution, a lot of people are interacting with technology in a way that they never have before, or at least discovering discovering the technology that's currently in place that just sort of appeared out of nowhere in the last 2 decades, and are starting to learn more about it. I got really deep into this a few years back and see it on a completely different level, which is what I'm going to be dabbling into today regarding electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic frequencies. And I'm going to just talk about the whole wave spectrum, and dabble into some of the new technologies for application with health, and also some of the things that we have to watch for regarding these new technologies coming out. So as with everything, if technology is not an asymmetrical power to us, then we are able to use it to become more sovereign, which is essentially what we want to do with everything, technology or not. But right now we're dealing in an age of technological advancement. So it's really important that we start learning about the technology that's being used so that we can harness it for our own benefit, right? So we know exactly what is out there, what we're being affected by, and then learn to use that technology to choose how we want to apply it in our lives, and if we want to apply it at all. And for the things that we can't sort of, separate ourselves from in terms of cell phone usage and all of that, it's very difficult because most people don't have a home line anymore. And so we're stuck with this device. And so learning about all this stuff is going to really help us become more sovereign with where we want to go with this technology, and also learning about frequencies in general. This is something that's going to come in over the next 20 years as Pluto stations in Aquarius and slowly moves through it. We're going to be learning about things regarding frequency. So basically how things are layered up with frequencies, and how we are, in fact, dealing with frequencies on an underlying level. So on an underlying level, we're dealing with frequencies, and we're dealing with a battle between the frequencies that we're emitting and the frequencies that are just in the environment. And so learning about all this stuff is going to become more and more crucial, and people will begin to speak a language of frequency more fluently. Dealing with technology, especially regarding health, there's going to be a revolution in health. This is just something that I'm forecasting. I already forecasted a few years ago that this would be the year that there's going to be a revolution regarding free energy, and it has already began to manifest. So there's different technologies that just recently emerged right away as 2023 came in, regarding fusion, and there's just all this different stuff going on, and we are going to burst through some of the constraints that have been limiting energy consumption, energy usage, and the way in which how we can source it, and whether or not we need to pay for it, and all this stuff. So that's bursting through. That's something I forecasted, but I'm really, really starting to begin to understand that there is going to be a revolution in healthcare, and it's going to be regarding these new technologies coming in, and how we can begin to harness frequency. So I've been speaking, ranting on and on about the misuse of technology. And I think that sort of peaked, and I had to go all the way to see exactly how it was being misused. in order to come back down and then begin to see, okay, moving out of the victimization of, the abuse of power with technology and how it's, AI is an asymmetrical power to us. How can we start to harness that? And then as I started to ground into searching for solutions on that level, that's when I really started to come into, technology that has been, it's been in development for the last few centuries. And slowly it's becoming more accessible to the general public. So different devices that we can use to analyze the health, of our bodies, and then also to correct different imbalances regarding frequency imbalances within the system. So I'm going to share a few things, and this is just going into it, like I said, really briefly, but I wanted to throw this out there so that people can begin to taste where it is that we're going with 2023, and also get inspired, because there are a lot of people dealing with health problems, and knowing that there's different options out there for self-care. People are having to become more responsible for their own health. And then, these are just some of the tools that we can use, and some of the things that we can study to begin to understand this stuff. So with that, I'm going to just share my screen here. So in 1734, we began to start playing around with electricity. And I'm reading an incredible book right now called The Invisible Rainbow, that was synchronistically brought to me by Chelsea Green. And it goes into the history of electricity at the beginning of the book, which is just mind-blowing to know that we used to zap ourselves, just simply zap ourselves with electricity when we were first discovering it, not understanding it all, and people were lining up to have this experience, and then to just put that into perspective with where we are now regarding electricity and its usage. So definitely a good book to look into if you're interested in this topic. The first thing I wanted to start with was the frequency spectrum. So there are many different frequency spectrums that you can find on the internet, and most of them are correct, but you do still have to be discerning, because some of them I have encountered a few that are not correct. So go and research just basic wave frequency electromagnetic spectrum, and you can begin to just start to understand where this technology is coming from. So we're going to use this one. We're moving from like brain waves, right, to audio frequency, radio frequencies, microwave, terahertz is over here, infrared, ultraviolet, and then we get into like the ionizing radiation, which is the bad stuff. And this goes all the way down to gamma rays, which are, if we're, experiencing rays directly from the sun, they would be ionizing. So understanding that frequencies are basically what we're dealing with, from, regarding everything from audio, the frequencies that we hear, to the frequencies that we see, and then everything in between. And you know, previous to the 1600s, there were no frequencies being emitted by humans. There are only natural frequencies on the earth. And then slowly we started to learn about frequencies, learn about light, learn about sound, electricity, electromagnetic energy, wave frequencies, and then we began to harness them and use them to do different things in the world. So notably, you know, understanding music and like the frequencies that we hear, to the frequencies within the body and radio frequencies, and then to things more recent like, you know, CT scans and microwave frequencies, X-ray frequencies. But this goes really, really deep, and I'm just going to quickly state that we have technology right now that sort of like the best way to explain it in layman's terms regarding the technology that's used to diagnose health and health of the cells, health of the bodily systems, is the radar that we use to detect airplanes in the sky. So from the towers detecting from the air, you know, the airport towers detecting the different airplanes in the sky, the objects in the sky, and the technology that we use to detect, for example, fish under a boat, right? So when the radar detection system that people use to go when they go fishing to see where the fish are. And when we do a CT scan, a CAT scan, for example, we're also able to see very clearly different layers of tissue within the body. And electromagnetic MRI scans are based on like electromagnetic energy, radio frequencies. You know, X-rays are ionizing radiation, and so they're down here, and they're based on different hertz. So they all have a specific hertz, and the hertz represents the wave and the cycle per second. So how many cycles on the sine wave per second? Going from very slow waves to very fast waves. So the slow waves are at the top here, and the fast waves are at the bottom. And so what we have began to harness is, you know, over very, very quickly over the last couple centuries are, you know, harnessing these waves and harnessing how to use them to detect different things in the environment, how to use them to detect specific chemicals, specific ailments within the body, diseases, parasites, so on and so forth, and how to do things like heat up food really quickly. So this study has been harnessed by, you know, for positive purposes as well as for nefarious purposes. And I'm going to try not to focus too much on how frequencies have been harnessed for nefarious purposes. But we do have things, for example, like, you know, the active denial system, which is, you know, a machine that emits a certain frequency. It's like a machine that, you know, police can pull out, or the military can pull out, and it emits a certain frequency that is in the range of microwave, that kind of can blast crowds at a distance. And it's just, they get heated up really quickly, and the shock of the heat coming in so quickly just sort of gets them to move out of the way. So there's There's different technologies like that on a low level that's, can be pulled out. But we have really, really advanced technology that is being currently used worldwide regarding our cell phones. And I'll first just start by saying that every country has, every government is regulating frequencies within its own country, and it has a certain amount of, a spectrum within the frequency, hertz range that it can sell to cellular providers, and then it can allocate different frequencies to different government institutions to do different things with. And so it's basically auctioning off frequencies to the highest bidder. And and then different cell phone companies will purchase those frequencies, and then they will be able to assign them to different cell phones. So every cell phone has its unique signature frequency, and every cell phone has the technology within it to capture frequency coming from the person. We all have our own electromagnetic fields, and we all have a signature frequency. And so there's a lot of stuff that is can be transferred between cell phone and human being regarding frequency. So the organization that overlooks and oversees all of this is called, let me see if I can find it here, Committed to Connecting the World. It's ITU, and they're the governing board of global frequencies. And so they kind of, they're sort of like a UN, I guess you could say, or one of these organizations that just works globally, and that does research and also tries to put in place different policies which regulate how much frequency, for example, cell phone providers can use with their cell phone towers, like what the legal limit is, what sort of frequencies can be emitted, and what strength. And so this work is constantly being done. If you look at, the way we were using electricity when we first discovered it, it was pretty barbaric, right? We had no idea what we were doing. So it's sort of the same thing right now. You have these, these overall governing boards that are working with smaller government agencies to try and figure out what's healthy versus unhealthy. And we're still in the preliminary stages of all of that. But nonetheless, this whole technological revolution has blasted forward in a short period of time, and we still have absolutely no idea what we're doing with all of this stuff. So this is partly why I'm putting this video out, because I believe the more people start looking into this, the faster that we're going to be able to overcome certain challenges that are happening due to very speedy application of technology overall over the course of the last 3 centuries. So I don't know about anybody out there, but for example, radio frequencies, before radio frequencies, right, we didn't have anything running through the airwaves. If you're looking at the spectrum, we can only see a certain amount of frequencies, but all the rest are there, right? And then we can hear some of them, but all these other ones are there, and they're electromagnetic frequencies, waves, wave propagation running through the field and the reality field. And we can only see a small spectrum, and we can only hear a small spectrum, but all the other ones are there. Before we had any other unnatural, like man-made frequencies running through the atmosphere, it was very quiet, right? So there was no, I don't know if, so what I wanted to say is that perhaps some of you can hear the sound of electricity. I'm someone that can hear the sound of electricity, and also you might have had the experience of hearing songs, right? You'll be able to hear songs just sort of come into your field in your mind, and then you turn on the radio and that song's playing. This has happened to me on numerous occasions, so it wasn't just like a few one-offs. So we are picking up on different frequencies, and we're able to even pick up on lyrics, right, coming from a song that are writing in on a radio frequency, even though we can't see it and we're not supposed to hear it because it's you know, it's not within our audio frequency range of hearing. We're still picking up on different frequencies from other sensory organs, right? So the ears might not hear it, but there's, you know, a sixth perception, or another sensory perception that is able to pick up on certain frequencies. And that's why I was able to, for example, you know, hear songs that were playing on the radio before I turned them on. And so there's also the question of feeling the energy. I am very sensitive to just the frequencies running in my phone. I believe they did change the frequencies in my phone over the course of the years. And there's a whole bunch of things that I'm not going to get into in this discussion because they go really deep, and the information can get really wild. So I'm just going to say that with cell phones, the level of information that they can acquire through a cell phone, and the level, the intensity of frequencies that can be emitted through your cell phone don't always stay within the range that, you know, these different organizations, the regulatory bodies claim they should be. And certainly not regarding, you know, the information that they can pick up on. Like we know recently, for example, like Pegasus, right, that was exposed, where there's different software that can just automatically go onto your cell phone and capture all the information from your sensors, all the activity within your cell phone. This has been exposed already. So if anybody doesn't know about this, just go and look up, you know, Pegasus and Project Pegasus and what that was all about, and how it was used, and how basically, you know, just regular citizens can get targeted with this type of software if their government or any agency, in fact, that gets their hands on that type of software wishes to, you know, spy on that person and gain information. So that's already in the know. We already know about this information. We're not going to go back all the way to Edward Snowden, but, you know, do your research and find out what's out there. But what I'm bringing forth and moving towards, that I'm sure a lot of people know, but there's still going to be tons of people that are completely unaware of, is that Pegasus is sort of a low, it's sort of a low end spyware, in the sense where the information that we can pick up with the cell phones, just through the sensors, and especially if you're, you know, through the voice frequencies, but also just holding the phone to your skull, and receiving that vibration, and then doing the transmitting and receiving of frequencies through the phone, can basically pick up everything to do with your bodily systems, everything to do with your general health, everything to do with even vitamin deficiency, you know, whether or not you have parasites in your gut, what type of parasites, bacteria, and even related to DNA and chromosomes. So they can sequence your DNA through frequency, capturing frequency through the cell phones. So these devices are a lot more than just devices to communicate on, which most people think. But we're, like I said, we're getting into, you know, heavier and heavier stuff that might cause a little bit of, obviously feelings of uncomfortable, being uncomfortable, learning about this information. So easing into it slowly is really good, and just understanding frequency, and then understanding, how different, how different frequencies can be harnessed, right, as a beginning step. And then we can move slowly into really this like next layer, and begin to harness that technology for ourselves. So again, I don't want to focus on how, the technology is being used against us. So dabbling a little bit into how we can use the technology for ourselves. I'm just going to show you the results of a scan that I did that uses similar technology to 6G to scan the body and produce information and give you a diagnosis on everything to do with your health and your well-being based on frequencies within your body. Okay, so the first one that we're going to look at is this one here. And this was taken from a scan from one of these machines that just simply uses the vibration of the voice and generates a comprehensive report on all of your organ functions. And so the first one talks about allergies, and this is just a vitals report. But it goes into allergies, and it will give you, whether or not you have an intolerance for specific foods. And so it goes all the way down the chart, and then it goes into the blood, and it's just going to tell you what's out of balance. So this is just kind of like a preliminary scan with some of the baser technology. And it goes into nutritional analysis, physical functionality, so bone density, brain nerve, cardiovascular, collagen, endocrine, so the hormones, the immune system, liver, body reproduction, reproductive system, the thyroid, allergies regarding different pollens, bacterial diseases, fungus, human toxins, and minerals, heavy metals, for example, molds, parasites, and viruses. So this is just one of the lesser, just like one of the more general reports, and this can already give you a lot of information. But then we can go into one of the more elaborate reports. So we can go into one of the more elaborate reports, such as the one that we have here. This is a sample report, and it gives us information that goes into way more details. So if you look here, you have the previous scan and then the current scan, and this is where I wanted to address this as well. So we're working with AI, and we're looking to gain sovereignty regarding different technologies, right? We have these technologies around us everywhere, like with the cell phones and the electricity and the different tools that we use in hospitals, right, to ascertain certain information about our health. And the one thing that this does that I'm still would like to just sort of not necessarily throw up a red flag, but make it aware that these scanners, when they initially scan, they then produce a frequency which they run through your system to balance whatever imbalances show up, right? So every cell in the body has a specific frequency. Every bacteria has a specific frequency. Every chemical has a specific frequency. Royal Rife did a lot of research on this stuff. And so that started way back when. And we know for sure government and, military use different different types of scanners to scan for certain frequencies to pick up on information about, what type of chemicals are in the environment, right? We have this technology in place. This is nothing new, but it goes into detail. And because it's so precise now, we can literally scan our body and we can see, for example, I'm looking at this sample here. Ideal is 5. And so, for example, the plasma membrane of the cells has a specific frequency. And this one shows that it's at a balance. So 9 is there's a definite kind of either wear and tear or, destruction of it. And then a 1 is, it needs same thing. It needs a repair, but there's like a lack of. So it could be that it's broken down, right? So 9 is like it's on the brink of breaking, and 1 could be a deficiency. So, it goes through every single system of the body and reports back information. So the myenteric plexus of the small intestinal wall here shows that before the scan, it was at 9. So there was an issue showing up. The frequency of that wasn't resonating at the ideal frequency that it should, based on what we know about all the frequencies of all these different things. And after there was an adjustment made with this technology to balance the system out, it still showed up as a 9. So usually that's an indication that there's a more deep-rooted problem with whatever it is that, that part of the body, or, that hormone, or because this just goes on and on. So here we have the spleen showing up. And the ones that you really want to look at is when you have the doubles, where the frequency of that particular thing can't be adjusted. But again, I'm not throwing up a red flag, but we have to look at, how we're using technology now more and more to adjust frequency problems within our being, and how we are not addressing, right, the root causes, what are causing those imbalances in our life, whether that's lifestyle, the way that we're eating, or if it's more systemic, it has to do with, the glyphosate, the Roundup that's being used to grow the food, or due to toxins in the water, toxins in the environment, lifestyle choices, and even, exposure, prolonged exposure to different types of electromagnetic frequency within the environment, such as cell phone towers, and so on and so forth. We really don't have that much information about how we've been affected. I know that when I go off grid and I don't hear the sound of electricity, my whole digestive system changes, like, just electricity itself and having all these appliances running constantly has an effect on my system that I notice. And, like I said, if I pick up my cell phone, my arm's going to go numb, right? So I notice things right away regarding all these, these frequencies that we're interacting with. So that's why you can kind of call this a frequency war. We don't know yet how much is affecting our health in a negative way, right? We just sort of like discovered this stuff, started harnessing these frequencies, harnessing electricity, harnessing electromagnetic energy, and still, 3 centuries is not that long. unfortunately, if there were prior civilizations using this technology, which I believe there are, or there were, we don't have the information from them anywhere in written on stone. We only have the pyramids, for example, which show us about harnessing energy, but we have the information that's stored in our DNA that was passed on. So we do have intuitive information about this stuff. And so 3 centuries is just, we just don't have that much information yet. And we're still like babies learning about this stuff. So modulating our own frequency, right, with this technology is still very new. And there are so many different types of technology out there, and you have to discover what frequencies are being used to modulate your frequency, or to correct imbalances in your system. So I was recently looking at the terahertz wave, and the terahertz, I think it's called terahertz one technology, which is from my studies in sort of the same as what 6G, the new 6G that's coming out technology, is based on. So there's a lot of interesting stuff done with what seems to be harmless frequencies. But we have to understand that not that long ago, we had nothing. We had no frequencies at all interacting with our electromagnetic field. So this has changed us drastically on, a biological and evolution, from a biological and evolutionary perspective. Okay, so this here just, it goes into utter detail. And you really want to, if you're someone who, can go off and start getting paranoid about information, right? You do a lot of self-diagnosis, or you're hypochondriac, or, this type of technology isn't good for you, because you are just going to start going crazy looking at all, where all these different imbalances are. So I don't recommend it for everyone, but for those that are pretty level-headed about this stuff, you do get really key information back. So if you're having a health issue, it's going to show up here. And I'm not just, this isn't just like blind belief. I tested this with different people, and the information that came back was accurate regarding different problems, right, that these people had for prolonged periods of time that were diagnosed by medical doctors. So we can see that, even with allergies, they're showing up, the person's allergies. And this isn't something like the level of accuracy was really high. From what I saw regarding, just working with a handful of people, and then what the technology was picking up on based on, the information that I had regarding these people. So you can get to health problems way faster than if you're going to a hospital. And, I'm sure many of you have gone searching because you've had certain health issues, and then going in, blood sample by blood sample, withdrawing blood, being tested for, different allergies or whatever it is, or, the doctor thinks it possibly could be based on his or her analysis, and then having to go for many of those, and then, even stool sample, or, whatever, urine sample, and then the back and forth. That just seems really, really outdated when you start working with this technology, because you just do one scan that takes about, I'd say 20 minutes in total. Like, it's very quick, and you just get instantaneous information on everything. So, even if you're having a problem with your shoulder, it's going to show up. If you're born with different dysfunctions, it's going to show up. Um, Now, the level of exactitude, there are different qualities of technology. So this is the base. Even this here is base, is a comprehensive report, but it's a comprehensive report from, a very basic device, very basic level technology. But there are technologies, that, cost a lot more to acquire, that can really even give you a 3D imaging of everything, just using this small little device and using the sound of your voice and the frequencies that it can, the terahertz that it can, terahertz wave pushed into your body, and then just testing each cell and everything that would, based on by frequency. I think there's the database within this technology is around 130,000 different frequencies. But then there, like I said, there are some that have way more, that can give you way more information, and can also give you sort of like more than just the diagnosis, a healing plan, right? So sort of plan to balance your system out using minerals, using different vitamins, or seeking help, right? Like if you need an operation, because it's really at that point, there's technology that can show you what level you're at regarding the health of that particular thing that we're looking at. And then it even goes into the chromosomes, right? And it can tell you, like the telomere, for example, in this case with chromosome 15 is, has succumbed to a lot of destruction, right? If we're looking at the centromere, the chromatid, like basically it's giving you everything. So this chromosome in particular has suffered a lot, right? So this person was either born with, already having issues with this chromosome, or they incurred it through things in the environment, right? We know there's a lot of things that basically reduce the length of arms, right, of the different chromosomes, and cause us to age faster, or just shorten the spectrum of what that chromosome is capable of doing, right? What sort of genes it can activate, turn on and off through epigenetics, right? You might, some different chromosomes have like, hundreds of thousands of gene options. And so it might limit that. And so it's, closing off different things that would otherwise be accessible to you due to things in the environment. And so we can look at this, and then we can look to see on how to improve it. So, and it even goes into the eyes. And so there's a lot of preventative medicine, that can take place using this technology. We can prevent operations. We can prevent things from getting to a really, really bad state, because we can take care of them right away. And then, on the flip side, it's understanding that this technology is available to us, but it's also technology that is being used in asymmetrical power against us. So if you can imagine all this information that I'm showing you right now, just being accessible to any government agency that is applying this technology through your cell phone, right? And then allocating a specific frequency to you to generate results that might not be the results you want to generate within your electromagnetic field based on the frequency that they're emitting. So if this can emit, respond with a frequency to modulate and to improve health, there's also frequencies out there that can do the opposite, that can diminish our health. And so it really depends on, the hands that hold this technology, and this is really important. Okay, this is really, really, really important that we begin to understand this technology, because it is being used ubiquitously. And like I said, every cell phone has its unique frequency signature, right? So when you receive a call, the frequencies that are used to send, to allow you to communicate through your cell phone, have a specific signature frequency that is allocated just to you. Okay. So that signature frequency might not be a frequency that works well with your system. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because, if there are no nefarious things going on, there's still the question of the type of frequencies being used and whether or not they are matched to the person's frequency signature, right? And how those are affecting you. So if your phone is constantly sending and receiving a signal, a frequency with the cell phone towers, and that frequency is inadvertently modulating your signature frequency, your electromagnetic frequency, maybe there are some frequencies which are going to cause harm inadvertently, right? And that might be less of a match to your signature frequency and might cause your system to go out of balance even more, right? And it's kind of like a lottery at this point. So everyone's given a signature frequency with their cell phone number, and then, whether or not that frequency is going to throw you out of whack more than someone else's, the frequency that was allotted to them is still something that people aren't even, these cell phone companies aren't even looking at. But government agencies, on the other hand, could potentially just, give you a call and just get a sample of your voice through your cell phone and just gain every bit of information that I just showed you from that report that you can gain for yourself. So it's really about harnessing this technology for ourselves and understanding that, we're the only ones that are going to be able to improve our health moving forward as these old systems begin to, completely dissolve. And the frequency war will then be with, if this technology is available to us, and we understand that, DNA modification can be done from remotely with all these things, then it's really up to us to, understand that there is a frequency war going on, and that, it is our responsibility to begin to learn about this stuff and harness it for ourselves, and also really push, the regulatory bodies that are in place to continue to explore this from, do the research from a place where, the cell phone companies can't fund, because a lot of the research being done in this field by these regulatory bodies are funded by cell phone companies. So of course, if they have their hand in it, then the results are going to be swayed by, the companies that are funding it and the institutions that are there, sort of the only ones putting the research together. So it's really up to us, and the next 10-15 years, we're all going to have to learn more about this stuff. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sure there's much, much more that I want to say on this topic. I have been doing an extreme amount of research on this, especially since, this stuff has been, ongoing. I've been delving into technology and, like I said, just being way too before my time regarding all this stuff. But things are catching up, and, I've been especially diving into this as this energy comes in with Pluto moving into Aquarius. Everybody in general, the whole, technology is just like all of a sudden we got hit in 2020, and everybody now has a device, and everybody's got assigned a frequency, and everybody, has been diagnosed with, being specific type of frequency. So I want to say specific person, but the whole diagnosis was done. And so really now it's up to us to look at this stuff for ourselves. And I have been researching it, and I can go into way more detail with this stuff, but it's like anything that you're learning that's new, the more in depth you go, you really there's a learning curve. Let's just put it that way. There's a learning curve, and you really need to be patient with yourself, and you really need to understand that the information is going to sink in slowly over time with consistency. So we're going to start to research this stuff, and then everybody's going to be way more fluent in hertz and frequency and wavelength, and understanding all the different the spectrums and the bands of frequency that we're interacting with as Pluto continues to move through Aquarius. And I think it starts officially, I think in March, Pluto goes into Aquarius, and then it dips back out, and then it'll go back into Aquarius again, fully, I think, in 2024, but it will still give us a taste of what that is. And this is what I'm bringing to you right now regarding this. So, yeah, if you want to have any discussions with me on this, just contact me. And you can contact me, and I will try to get back to you, and give you the information, whatever it is that you're looking for regarding all this stuff. There is a lot of interesting things that I've seen with the terahertz wave regarding treating people with the back injuries, and also regarding graphene. There's some really interesting stuff, but I'd like to speak with more people on it, and I'm going to continue these studies and hopefully have a better understanding and grasp soon enough. Let's just see. So I have this book here, The Invisible Rainbow, and I'm going to go through this. I've been going through it, and this is going to give me a basis. So if you're looking for a good book to give you a basis of understanding, this one's a good one to start with. And then also people who have information already about this stuff, who have already been, studying this stuff 30, 40, 50 years back, feel free to reach out and share information with me. I will be doing contract work over the next year, traveling around. That is something that I've opened up to for 2023. So if anyone is, has any contracts that they're looking to fill, I'm definitely going to be traveling this year and next year. No government agencies and no universities that, I don't want to work for anybody who's receiving funding from people who are just not being discerning with the technology, and who are just not being discerning in general with, the research and where it's going, and the integrity of what it is that we're doing here. So we're having to tread lightly. We're having to be careful as things move forward into 2023, because stuff is happening, and the revolution is here, and it's either going to be a revolution of sovereignty, and for those that don't keep that aren't willing to learn and become more aware and go through the pain, right, of growing through this awareness of exactly what's happening on these larger scales, won't be able to truly become sovereign with this stuff. So wishing everybody an incredible 2023, and stay strong. Don't give up. Keep on going. You can reach me at inspiringplayfulevolutions.com. I give sessions for both astrology, looking at the different systems, and also for working with people that are moving through different levels of awareness. If if I have received many emails from people, I'm not able to assist everybody. So if I haven't been able to assist you, I usually refer people contacting me to other people, or I'll match them with people who have different service offerings that I believe they would be a good match to, people that can really help them based on their skill sets. And you can also check me out at storytellingfortimes.com. I have a YouTube channel that is called Inspiring Playful Evolutions that I haven't really updated. But if you are interested in doing an interview, contact me. And also for 21st Century Weaver, the platform that this is on, please share and keep on going, keep on learning, keep on striving. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.